Hey guys, hope we're all doing well, and welcome back to the Psychology Network. As you know, we are celebrating mental health this week. So today, we are focusing on memory. Before we start, let's review two common terms that will be useful later on. Cognition is thinking, knowing, communication, remembering, and other mental activity processes. Metacognition is the ability to control your own thoughts, such as the act of thinking about memory. Right? So thinking about thinking. Now, onto memory. Memory is the persistence of learning over time through encoding, storage, and retrieval of information. It fascinates us because it allows us to reminisce about the past. Now, in order to discover how our brain forms and retrieves memories, psychologists create memory models that compare human memory to that of computer operations. Encoding gets the information into our brain, storage retains the information, and retrieval gets the information back out later on. Connectionism views memories as products of interconnected neural networks and allows specific memories to arise from particular activation patterns within these networks. To explain memory forming processes, Richard Atkinson and Richard Schifrin propose another model with 3 stages. We first record to be remembered information as fleeting sensory memory. From there, we process information into short-term memory, where we encode it through rehearsal. Finally, information moves into long-term memory for later retrieval. Another theory is the neural networking processing model, which involves processing of many aspects of a problem simultaneously. A persistent increase in synaptic strength following high-frequency stimulation of a chemical synapse that lasts for days or weeks is known as long-term potentiation. Now, over to Brooke.
Welcome back. Now we will discuss how humans create memories during encoding. The facts and experiences we consciously know and declare are explicit memories and require effortful encoding which take complete attention and effort. Implicit memories are retention independent of conscious recollection. Our implicit memories include procedural memory for automatic skills and classically conditioned associations among stimuli. For example, space. While studying, you often encode the place on a page in your notebook where certain materials appear. Later, when you want to retrieve information about automatic processing, for example, you may realize the location of that information on this page. For time, while you're going about your day, you intentionally note the sequence of its events. Later, realizing that you've left your backpack somewhere, the event sequence in your brain automatically encoded will enable you to retrace your steps. Frequency, you effortlessly keep track of how many times things happen. As when you suddenly realize, this is the 3rd time I've run into her today. Sensory memory, on the other hand, feeds into our active memory and records the momentary images of scenes or echoes of sounds. Visual encoding or iconic memory is the momentary sensory memory of visual stimuli, a photographic or picture image memory lasting no more than a few tenths of a second. Echoic memory is a momentary sensory memory of auditory stimuli. If attention is elsewhere, sounds and words can be recalled within 3 or 4 seconds. George Miller proposed the short-term memory can retain about 7 information bits. Other researchers have confirmed that we can, if nothing distracts us, recall about 7 digits, or about 6 letters or 5 words. Unless rehearsed, verbal information may be forgotten quickly. Maintenance. Elaborative rehearsal is a memory technique that involves thinking about the meaning of a term to be remembered, as opposed to simply repeating the word to yourself over and over. Chunking information occurs when we organize information into meaningful units, such as letters, words, and phrases, and we are able to recall it more easily. Mnemonics are memory aids, like the memory of loci, which is a mnemonic device that allows a person to visualize the items that they're trying to learn in spatial locations. The pegword system is a mnemonic device that is used to memorize lists in a specific order and allows us to harness our superior visual imagery skills. When people develop expertise in an area, they process information not only in chunks but also in hierarchy composed of a few broad concepts divided and subdivided into narrower concepts and facts. Organizing knowledge in hierarchies helps us retrieve information efficiently. A prototype is a mental image or a best example of a category. A schema is a cognitive framework or concept that helps us organize and interpret information. A script is a series of behaviors, actions, and consequences that are expected in a particular situation or event. The space study and self-assessment beat cramming and rereading. Practice may not make perfect, but smart practice, occasional rehearsal with self-testing makes for lasting memories. The spacing effect is the tendency for distributed study or practice to yield better long-term retention than is achieved through mass study or practice. One effective way to distribute practice is repeated self-testing, a phenomenon that researchers Henry Roediger and Jeffrey Karpicki have called the testing effect. We retain information better when encoding it's distributed over time. Mass practice can quickly produce speedy short-term learning and feeling of confidence, but those who learn quickly also forget quickly. One effective way to distribute overlearning is a repeated practice of skill or study of material to further strengthen memory of performance.
Hey guys, I'm back now to talk about memory shortage and retrieval. Long-term memory is the relatively permanent and practically unlimited capacity memory system into which info from short-term memory may pass. Explicit memory systems are the frontal lobes, thalamus, and hippocampus. The frontal lobe is a network that processes and stores explicit memories. The thalamus is involved in encoding sensory memories into short-term memory. And the hippocampus is the neural center that helps process explicit memories for storage. The implicit memory systems are the cerebellum and the basal ganglia. The cerebellum plays a key role in forming and storing the implicit memories created by classical conditioning. The basal ganglia is a deep brain structure involved in motor movements and facilitates the formation of our procedural memories for skills. In connection, emotions in the amygdala can be provoked by stress hormones to initiate a memory trance in the frontal lobes and basal ganglia, which boost activity in the brain's memory-forming areas. Stressful events, hormonal changes, and flashbulb memories affect our memory processing. Synaptic changes affect our memory processing through serotonin, drugs, and sleep. When serotonin is released, learning occurs, and synapses become more efficient at transmitting signals, thus making memories stronger. Sleep is also a great influence on memory consolidation. During deep sleep, the hippocampus processes memories for later retrieval. After a training experience, the greater the hippocampus activity during the sleep. The next day, the brain's After training experience, the greater the hippocampus. After a training experience, the greater hippocampus After a training experience, there will be greater hippocampus activity during sleep, which will result in better memories the next day.
Measurements of memory retention include recall, recognition, and relearning or overlearning. Recall is retrieving information that is not currently in your conscious awareness, but that was learned over an earlier time. On the other hand, recognition is identifying items previously learned. Relearning is a measure of memory that assesses the amount of time saved when learning material again. When you study for a final exam or engage in a language you used early in childhood, you will learn the material more easily than you did initially. Reconstruction allows us to alter details when we try to retrieve them. The process of retrieving a memory follows a simple and similar principle. Because memories are held by storage of web associations, each piece of information is interconnected with others. The more retrieval clues you have, the better chances of finding a route to the suspended memory. Priming is often memoryless memory, which is an invisible memory without your conscious awareness. If walking down a hallway you see a poster of a missing child, You may then unconsciously be primed to interpret an ambiguous adult-child interaction as a possible kidnapping. Although you no longer have the poster in mind, it predisposes your interpretation. Priming can also influence behaviors. A context-dependent memory focuses on physical setting in which a person learns info is encoded along with the info and becomes part of the memory trace. State-dependent memory is the tendency to recall info better when the same internal state as when the info was encoded. A mood-congruent memory is the tendency to recall experiences that are consistent with one's current good or bad mood.
Now, on to forgetting, memory construction, and memory improvement. We forget memories for 3 key reasons. Encoding failures include the brain's occasional failure to create a memory link. Storage decay is the type of forgetting that occurs when memories fade over time. Repression is the exclusion of distressing memories, thoughts, or feelings from the conscious mind. Often, forgetting is not memories faded, but memories unretrieved. We store in long-term memory what's important to us or what we've rehearsed, but sometimes important events defy our attempts to access them. Interference is the pieces of missing information that an individual fills through previous knowledge or through theories or prior beliefs. Proactive interference is a disruptive effect of prior learning on the recall of new information. Basically, in other words, when you could not learn a new task because of an old task you have already learned. Retroactive interference is a disruptive effect of new learning on the recall of old information. Basically, you forget a previous learned task due to learning a new task. Amnesia is a deficit in memory caused by brain damage, disease, or psychological trauma. Anterograde amnesia is the inability to form new memories, leading to a partial or complete inability to recall the recent past, while long-term memories from before the event remain intact. Retrograde amnesia, on the other hand, is the inability to retrieve information from one's past. So, loss of memory access to events or before an injury or the onset of a disease. Okay?
Welcome back. A 47-year-old Michigan woman was recently diagnosed with confabulation. After watching Avengers: Infinity War, she began to believe people were actually turning to dust. Subsequently, American psychologist Elizabeth Loftus states that misinterpreted memories are more common than you may think. Misinformation effects cause a memory to become altered following the exposure to misleading information. Déjà vu, a feeling of having already experienced the present situation, and a well-known example of source misattribution, can be attributed to source amnesia. Loftus continues on to say that the woman from Michigan may also be experiencing the effects of imagination inflation, which results in the creation of false memories. On to other news. Over the weekend, a therapist who spoke out about the issue of eyewitness recall became trending on Twitter. The original tweet stated that many children may be replacing or covering memories of abuse with false events. While many Twitter users supported the overall understanding that forgetting isolated past events have a positive effect on everyday life, some controversy comes from people who believe the survivors are either lying or accusing innocent people. In order to prevent memory loss, we recommend exercising, laughing, eating healthy, staying away from social media, keeping social, and treating mental health problems.